It's an Archaeodeath monthly review with Professor Howard Williams.
Hey, Archaeodeathlings, and welcome to this month's monthly roundup. And this is the monthly roundup for September 2020. And what a month it is, because for me, as well as continuing my research and my administration of an MRes degree and my work, I'm really starting to build up my preparations for teaching. And now I'm into teaching. I am doing the online teaching. I am doing my job, which is more than our government is doing when they have some of their members of parliament claiming students should get refunds. Well, this is a misdirection. As you all know, our government shouldn't have been introducing 2 decades ago student fees anyway. I don't want students to pay any more than they should for education. We've got the highest student tuition fees in Europe. It's not good. But should they get a refund for getting all the work that we're doing online? No, they shouldn't. And in fact, should they be at university? Our union says no. But actually, you know, whether they are or not, refunds should have been sorted out long before this debacle. This was predictable. This is going on. I'm teaching online, and my students are getting as best as I can deliver through a range of my undergraduate modules and my master's teaching, which starts in a week and a half. So, hey, that's my rant to start off September. In other words, what I'm trying to say is we're back into teaching, and it's tough, it's difficult, it's challenging. It's a new medium for me. The YouTube channel, in part, was preparation for me to get started with understanding how to do this type of stuff. Obviously, I'm doing it, not doing my teaching videos as quick fire as this, but my point is, I'm trying to sort of surf the wave, new normal, all the other BS terms you've been hearing. That's what I'm trying to do. All I can say is that me and my colleagues are working really, really hard for the students and for everyone else as part of our job. That's all we can say, and that's all we're doing. Whatever else happens, that's the line. And we're going to be here for the whole academic year, plugging along, trying to give our students any support they need on the pastoral side, on the academic side. Obviously, I would serve as a personal academic tutor too. So that's my start off for this month's roundup. I'm doing teaching. But what am I teaching? Well, as well as teaching archaeology and contemporary society, which means that I'm going to be facilitating the organisation with the students of a sixth University of Chester Archaeology Student Conference. And for that, we're going to go back to death. We're going to digital death, and I'll come to that. I blogged about that this month. So we're going to deal with the public archaeology of digital mortuary archaeology and the public engagements therein. Oh, suit you, sir. And also, I'm teaching Vikings, HI 6008. We're doing a module on Vikings, looking at the Viking world, its complexity, its diversity, and looking at Scandinavia and Western Europe, the North Atlantic, and the East as well. So that's going to be an exciting thing to do. I didn't teach that last year. That was death and burial as my third year special subject, my level 6 special subject. Now I'm back to Viking. So yay for that. I'm also delivering the whole of the module Empire and Aftermath, which basically surveys the archaeology of Britain and Northwest Europe in the first millennium AD, looking at the Roman period and then what came after, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to deal with that late antiquity. Yeah, we're going to deal with that and a bit after as well, up to the Viking Age. So I've got lots of things going on. I'm also teaching mortuary archaeology to the MA Archaeology of Death and Burial students. It's all happening. And since the first month that I started this back in April, I think I've packed in more this month than ever before on my Archaeodeath YouTube blog. With where did I start? Where's my monthly review? There's the August monthly review. Yes, I did a review of my edited collection from 2009 with Professor Duncan Sayer, Mortuary Practices and Social Identities in the Middle Ages. If you want to learn out more about that, click on there. The D Estuary it's still got to be premiered, so that's coming soon. Castell Dinas Bran, an early medieval stronghold. Well, I took a walk up it and I thought I'd give you a video about it. This is an Iron Age hill fort and 13th century Welsh castle in the Vale of Llangollen, but I talk about its strategic location in relation to the early medieval interactions between the Mercian frontier works of Offers and Watts Dykes and the Pillar of Elizeg and Vallecrucis Abbey. So check that one out. Now, I was asked to do I was to do some kind of digital induction event from our new students, and I've never done an induction event on my own, and I haven't done any one digitally. So I did 3 videos I called Archaeo Hacks, and while they were aimed at our new students, I put them on YouTube because I think they'll be of benefit to almost everyone thinking about studying archaeology at any level. So there are 3 hacks: one about how to utilize your real world landscape, how to use your digital landscapes, and also how to transform yourself and build your confidence and expertise as a independent researcher. So important when you're pursuing an academic undergraduate degree and onwards beyond that. Now, another video that's going to premiere soon, in fact tonight, is Death and Memory in the early medieval Britain. So check out my one monograph from 2006 which explores that very topic. And then I've done something new that I haven't done before, which is actually I was invited by a local society, the Chester Society for Landscape History, to deliver a lecture, an evening lecture. And I do quite a few public lectures. I get invited quite a lot. And I thought it would be an opportunity to, rather than just give them a Zoom experience, to give them something that speaks to them and they can dip into at any time, and also has a wider audience. So what I did was I presented via YouTube. So I've got two parts of a video, offers like a watery perspective, and 1 and 2, and that give you that sort of review of my ongoing research, yet unpublished, on the hydraulics and water interactions of Britain's biggest ancient monument. I then followed that up on Monday with a live stream Q&A. So the actual, rather than the evening presentation was a Q&A discussion where I synopsized the previous talk, and as a live stream event. Now, it did go wrong, and I managed to mess up some of the technology, but everyone got to see it if they want to, because it's recorded and it's available here as live stream with Howard Williams. And I created a cut down version of it too. So you've got that there. I also did a discussion of should we share images of the dead on social media? Well, um, that's an ongoing controversial topic I've addressed in a variety of different venues, including my blog and in publications. And I try to synopsize the key issues with the challenges and problems of social media use of human remains and human displayed material in archaeological research. It's educational. It can further and engage communities and those uninitiated into mortuary archaeology. But we have to be responsible about the many challenges and problems and many potential upset that this can cause. So I try to navigate that. And I talk about a recent publication by David Erickson and Tim Thompson, who address this very issue. I've got a forthcoming video here on early Anglo-Saxon heirlooms and completing a PhD, my first Archaeodeath interview with Dr. Brian Costello, and I'll talk about that next month. But for this month, I've done some new things, therefore. I've not only been out in the landscape and looking at places, I've also done Archaeo Hack, a bit of advice for new researchers, something I haven't done before, and I've also presented online and then archived it through YouTube, which I think is a very constructive thing to do beyond doing a live performance that disappears into the internet, may appear on somewhere else. I've got my own copy of everything in this one place. So I'm rather pleased with what I've done this month. I also want to tell you I've got my second viral TikTok video, 43,400 views, and this is where I just did a quick 15-second video pointing out that there are human cremated material in the landscape, and commenting on the fact that we often encounter the remains of the dead when we're out and about on our walks in the landscape, because I think a lot of people do genuinely not realise that this white powdery material they encounter at beauty spots and ancient monuments is human cremated material. So I tried to use that as an educational. I didn't reveal the location. I don't want to sort of make this about the person who made that scattering offering or the people that made that scattering offering, but I thought it was a useful video. But I didn't expect it to get 43,400 views and a ludicrous number of likes. I mean, 1,171 likes. I mean, it's not predictable, and that's the thing with TikTok, but it's reaching somebody who might be interested in things linked to my research, even if it's modern ashes as opposed to more ancient archaeological remains. It's all part of what I do, looking at the material evidence of death and remembrance. I now want to quickly skip through my Archaeodeath blogs. I started by looking at a conference review, Establishing Boundaries, Linear Earthworks, Frontiers and Borderlands in Early Medieval Europe. And basically, Dr. Liam Delaney, Astrid Tummerscheit and Frauke Witte and myself organised a session at the virtual EAA conference. So I do a review of our session and all the different papers that talked about linear borders in early medieval Europe. I also then put out the call for papers for the forthcoming um, conference, the student conference on DigiDeath, Public Archaeologies of Digital Mortality, which is taking place on Thursday, the 28th of January. And we've got to sort out details with the university about how we're going to deliver that, but it's most likely via Teams with a link that's available and an organised mixture of the student presentations and some expert presentations. And I'm going to back that up with the following day, facilitating a range of additional presentations from experts up on the theme of digital public mortuary archaeology. I then did a blog post about a style on the Offersdyke Path, which has a distinctive grave slab, a slate grave slab, but not placed on a grave, but placed by a style as part of a person remembering an individual who worked hard in his life to support conservation and walking charities. I then go back into death in fiction and I talk about Fear the Walking Dead season 2, my last post on that season, looking at the way in which the morality and materiality of death is intertwined in the storyline associated with the burial of Elias Suarez and James McAllister. By Travis Manoa in the season 2, where it's a very dark storyline, as most of it is, but I think that's really interesting. And then I report on up to back-to-back TV filming events I participated in down in the Wye Valley for ITV on Offersdyke, and then heading west the next day, I went to Margam Abbey to be interviewed in front of the stones for the early medieval stones there for the BBC. So I presume they'll be coming out next year, and I'll give you more details of those in due course. But Archaeodeath TV, it'll be a thing one day, but it's nice to be interviewed and have a conversation about some of the monuments I research and I'm passionate about and interested in. To TV programs, and I think that it's important at least they feature, even if it's only for a couple of seconds, and me saying a few one-liners or one-liner about them. I then reflected on 18th, 19th century landscape design and imaginings that take in Offersdyke in their vistas. So part of the sort of perhaps proto-Anglo-Saxonism in the British landscape. Before, and I mentioned it in a previous monthly video, but I'm actually starting a new book project by interview. And Femke Lippok at the University of Leiden and myself have in this month interviewed 2 archaeologists who are experts in early medieval mortuary practice, because our book is going to be on cremation in the early Middle Ages. And the first up was Rika Annert, a Belgian archaeologist, an expert in early medieval cemeteries in Flanders, and she excavated and just published the Bruchem cemetery, which has mixed rites, so it has inhumation burials and cremation burials. So that was a great interview, and that'll be part of our book. I've got a new publication out in my Offersdyke journal. It went to peer review, and my co-editor Liam handled the peer review, but it came back, and I've worked hard on it, and it's my first paper about place names and archaeology. So I'm really excited to see that out in print. The other thing I'm doing spend a lot of my time doing is editing the 4th University of Chester Archaeology Student Conference proceedings. And so also this month, I've been helping edit and repackage some of the student essays of those who wish to be published in the book. And as part of that, I was playing with an infographic for comparative scales of linear monuments, fact and fiction. And I came across one online that was perfectly good, but didn't really use exact scales. And this is the daily dot here. So I tried to adapt that and create my own. And so I've created my own comparative scales between fictional, past and present frontiers. So here's the wall in Game of Thrones. Here's Hadrian's Wall. Offa's Dyke, the Great Wall of China, and then two more recent boundaries. One now moribund, the Berlin Wall, and the tallest sections of the U.S.-Mexican border wall as it stands today. So I think that shows that is a point, and I argue this is a point of reflection, both on the ridiculous scale of fictional frontiers, and obviously that's not real, but also it's a jumping off point for conversations between those enthusiastic about fantasy and fiction, but may not be aware of the real world underpinnings of George R. Martin's idea, his inspiration from Hadrian's Wall, but how there are some connecting themes between the logistics, organization, symbolism, and ramifications of the wall in Game of Thrones and real world scenarios. So I'm not saying Game of Thrones is real. I'm saying that there is a conversation point to be had there about engaging people with real world frontiers through fictional frontiers. I then look at memorial shrines. I keep coming across more of these, but I do talk about. I report on two further ones that I've experienced in the Welsh landscape, and here's a video talking about them and their material culture. So I'm looking at contemporary archaeology of memory, and then we're back. Femke and myself interviewed a second archaeologist, this time a Dutch archaeologist, Dr. Ega Nol, about cremation in Frisia, in Friesland, in the north of the Netherlands. So I'm very excited about that. We also issued a call for papers for volume 3 of the Offa's Dyke Journal. So we've put a deadline if you're interested in submitting some research on frontiers and borderlands of the 1st of March 2021, and all the details are online and can be linked through from there. I also then talk about the fate of Alan, the COVID-19 snake. And I previously posted about this wonderful monument sinuously running through the Allen Waters Country Park. There's its head, there's its body, and it's been all pulled up to save it from a vandalism, but it has been put into the island by the visitor centre at Allen Waters. So you can actually still have the preserved paradise within that landscape, which I think is very cool. Related videos, don't know what that is. Anyway, my two latest posts for this month. One, when I was down doing my TV expedition to South Wales, I went briefly to visit Margam Crematorium, which is some would say a very stark, others say a beautiful landscape, but of course at the moment it's peppered with additional signs. And so I try and talk about these signs as an intervention of regulation signage into an existing regulated textual landscape, and I talk about how they've redirected movement, and they have through benches and signs, as well as added these massive new signs warning you not to gather together, and how this fits into a broader tradition of signage and trying to curtail particular kinds of behaviours in that landscape. There's a poor random cone trying to do a job on its own. I felt that's very sad, and all of the signage. So I tried to look at the contemporary archaeology of COVID at the crematorium, and most recently, last blog, 15th of the month, I look at the place name evidence. Linked to my publication on social memory and place names up and down Offers Dyke and Watts Dyke, I look at Buttington and Four Crosses and the road names and the business park signs there as an example of how Offers Dyke is embedded in the contemporary landscape and its markers and its routeways. So I hope that little review of what I've been up to this month. I've been busy teaching, I've been busy researching, producing books, producing teaching materials, as well as producing my YouTube videos and my Archaeodeath blogs and my TikToks. And I hope you stay with me. Please think about subscribing to this channel. Who knows what this new month will come? Well, I've given you a hint. I've got my first interview coming up with Dr. Brian Costello, and I'm going to do more videos about subjects, including some of my publications, some key debates in mortuary archaeology and archaeologies of memory, and maybe if weather allows, I'll be able to factor in a few site visits to give you a sort of insight into some mortuary sites. But for now, thank you very much. Please subscribe, as I said, and stay safe, people out there. We're working hard in the HE sector, as teachers are too, and stay with us, keep the faith in us. We're doing our very best in difficult circumstances, and we didn't create this scenario. But I'm with my colleagues. I support my colleagues, and I support my union, and I support my my university in trying to do its best with this up and down situation. We're back into lockdown here in North Wales, and trying to keep smiling about it, because it's tough on everyone, and it's not least the people who are getting poorly. So just stay safe, and speak to you, and hopefully see you at the next month's roundup.